and when rapid speed down to 2,500. That's your
Point wherever you reduce speed to 180.
BlackBox.
Hey, welcome back to KP's BlackBox. As you can see today, you get the opportunity and the privilege to stare at my mug for about only 30 minutes because I'm going to keep this podcast shorter than our typical hour. But I want to get right to the point today of sharing with you some thoughts about mindset. And it really challenged me again after having an interview with Michael Walding, who's an entrepreneur down in Florida. That was actually our last podcast. That number, guys, was, do you remember the number of that podcast? 133, Noah says. So we're going to fact check him to see if that was really accurate, because I think he just pulled that out of his rear. So you can look back on YouTube while we're doing this, right, and find out. Anyways, Michael Walding, you want to go watch that podcast, professional bodybuilder turned business entrepreneur, has one of the most successful retail arbitrage businesses probably in the U.S. And in that interview, it was probably one of the best, or one of my favorite, because what I really found was a guy who had little to no experience in a business that he ventured into. What really drove him and what still drives him is a mindset. And as I was getting ready and preparing for this podcast today, I picked up a book that sits here on my table all the time as a reminder about the mindset and how important that is to anything that you venture into in life. So I'll start the podcast by saying, hey, you want to pick up this book right here, Think and Grow Rich. This book goes all the way back to the 1930s. I think published originally, I'll have to go back and tell you that. I don't remember. I should. And the writing is way too small. 1937, I can see that. Holy cow. I should have brought my spectacles with me today, guys. But I'm fighting that I'm losing vision. No, I'm gaining vision. My vision is getting better. Speaking that over myself and believing that God's going to heal my bad vision that's currently bad. So it's a mindset. You got to think, you got to believe, you got to act as if. So we'll talk through that today. We'll talk about a specific story in this book I'm going to read to you. And I'm going to share some goal-setting process that I use, and you'll find this when you go to our literacy course that will be launching hopefully here by the end of February. We're going to share it with our entire audience and then the clients at my financial services firm that helps underwrite this show, Kenneth Porter and Company. Yeah, let's give a shout out for Kenneth Porter and Company. Yeah. Cash register. What else can we do? Give us a clap, some air horn. So yeah, shout out to Kenneth Porter and Company and the crew, my guys and gals back here who help make it happen every day. Shout out to Miller House Coffee for keeping our coffee full and keeping our clients happy with some Java. So thank you guys. And then before we get started today, as always, we want to give a shout out to our nation's finest and those who serve in our military, especially those of you in Hampton Roads, our sailors, Marines, Coasties, Airmen. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you. We salute you. Cheers to you. Johnny Walker, we still haven't heard from you. Noah, have you reached out to Johnny Walker? Come on, Noah. It's hard to find good help. But when you do, you keep them. And Noah's a keeper, but he's going to take this task now. He's going to get his journal out and reach out. Well, maybe, you know what? We'll give that task to our newest member of the squad behind the camera here, Jordan Miller, sister of our producer, Ian Miller. And Ian's away on the Grateful Dead set right now. Grateful Dead. Jeez. He's touring with the Grateful Dead, with The Walking Dead, and one of their spinoff series. So, Ian, we hope you're having fun, and thanks for leaving us high and dry. But Jordan's picked up, and we're rocking without you. So you know what? You may have just lost your job to your sister. A girl beat you. Girl power. Yeah, awkward, right? Ian's going, stop. So, anyways, okay, folks, settle down. Today, the thought process that you have, and the thoughts that you linger on, the thoughts that you allow to hang around, they become part of your DNA. They become part of your life. And, those of you that believe like I do and believe that God is our supreme being, that our relationship with Jesus, He gave us the ability to believe. He gave us the ability to behave, to have relationships, and ultimately have these things that we're all looking for as results, and good results more so than not. So one of the things I'd share with you today, if you can get a piece of paper out and you can jot these things down, I think it'd be great for you to meditate on and go back and review. But your beliefs, how you believe about anything, whether it be your money, your marriage, your church, your business, your employer, your beliefs are established in a way that those make up kind of the core of all of your principles. And these beliefs, these principles are the guiding tool to how you behave. So beliefs drive behaviors. Behaviors are these choices. There are these things that we go through every day where we make decisions. Decisions sometimes that lead us down great paths. Decisions, obviously, sometimes that aren't so great. But they're usually driven by the belief system that we have. So beliefs drive behaviors. Behaviors then drive relationship. So the relationship that we have with our money, with our wife, with our church family, with our business family, our business associates, those relationships are important in our life. And you find anyone that's had great success at anything, I would challenge you to look around the people that they associate with, the relationships that they have. And the better the relationships, usually the better foundation that person has in any endeavor they go into. And we heard this from Michael Walding the other day in this podcast where he talked about, now having 160 employees. And he didn't say it was all about him. There was something that was specific about him that we'll get into today. But one of the things he said is in the relationships in his organization is that he found great people to help him get what it was he wanted out of his business. And so when you surround yourself with great people, and I like to think if I can put people in my environment that are much smarter than me, have more knowledge than me, have passion similar to me, then we're going to see an organization that will grow. I even say that in my own company, in my own firm, my financial services firm. I've got great people who work with me, not just for me. And we have similar mindsets, similar goals, similar drive, and we all want the same thing for each other. We're well intended for each other. So when you find that your beliefs are driving your behaviors or driving the relationships, the next thing we're looking for is results. And when we get good results, that helps fortify or shore up our belief system. Now, what's unfortunate is when results aren't so good, we go back and start questioning our belief system. But I find that most people trip up over there on the behavior side. The behavior is those choices that we make. And I'll be really radically transparent with you and tell you, a place that I still don't behave well in is in my exercise life. Like, I get up with this well-intended intention to go train, to go work out, to be fit like I was when I was a Marine in my 20s, and was in the best fitness of my life. But I had things and processes in place that made that really easy for me to make that my focus. As children came, as marriage came, my focus started being spread to other things that were as equally as important to me as push-ups or running, 3 to 6 miles, or doing those things that take care of my body. And so what you're hearing me say now are excuses. And all of us have an excuse for the things that we don't set good goals or set good efforts towards. But it really comes back to bringing that back to mindset. And this mindset of beliefs drive behaviors, behaviors drive relationships, relationships drive results. What I want to do today is revisit some of the things that I started working on back in 2013 when I released my first book, and actually my only real book, The Billionaire Within, but not the last book, guys. There's going to be more to come. And actually, we're going to do a second edition to this book. Jordan's going to help me do that. And we're going to re-release this with our new platform, our financial literacy platform, because I think it's important to get information into the hands of the world and then allow you the behavior, the choice to decide how you want to relate with me and this information so that you can have better results in the things that you set out to do in your life. So as we get into this today, one of the first things that really set out to me in this interview with Michael Walding was the guy is all about massive action. And in order to have massive action, you got to take some time to set goals. And if you don't have goals, if you don't have vision for the things that you want to do in life, you're probably going to be attracted by other things that can easily take your attention. So if you're too wide in all the things you have going on in your life and you're trying to figure out, well, why aren't things going my way? I would say it probably comes back to the goals that you're setting and those goals having focus or following one course until successful. So take that word focus, turn it into an acronym, and let's pick one thing right now, just one thing that you can focus on to do well. And that one thing becomes a goal. And so focus, follow one course until successful. And the better you get at this, then you can start taking on multiple goals, multiple choices along the way. But if you find yourself in a rut, just pick one thing and chunk it down into small, achievable goals. So in my workbook that we'll start sharing with you here at the end of the month through the BlackBox Society, don't go there yet, but we'll have a website up with our education platform. We'll have a link to it through BlackBox Group or blackboxgrp.com. You'll also be able to get to it through my website, kennethporterandco.com. But you're going to see inside this platform, there'll be a workbook for you. And one of the main things in this workbook to do that we talk about is goal setting. And it just fired me up again after having this interview with Michael, a guy at 25 years old, turned pro as a professional bodybuilder, and taking that mindset, that work ethic, and transitioning that into a massively successful Amazon business. And if you go back and again watch that podcast, and we did confirm it's 133 now. Yep. All right. So if you go back and look at episode 133, you'll see this interview with Michael Walding. I would encourage you to take a look at that so that you have some frame of reference for what I'm sharing with you today. So I pulled out of my journal a couple of things that highlight that I wanted to share with you today about goal setting and mindset. In order for you to establish any purpose in your life, you need to come up with a purpose statement. You need to determine what it is you want and get clear on your future and what your future desires are in order for your purpose to be fulfilled, whether it be a money purpose, a marriage purpose, a life purpose. And you have to begin to convert that into goals. So goals, I like to use an acronym, and maybe you've heard of this before, but I like to use SMART goals and then make SMART goals smarter. So let me share with you what that means. When you think about SMART goals, it's an acronym. We want our goals to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. So when you have SMART goals and you can start putting those into a process and chunk it down into achievable subsets, that makes them smarter. How do you like that? Smarter. You can execute and repeat on those SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time sensitive, and then you've got to execute and repeat in order for that SMART goal to become smarter. How do you like that? So hopefully that helps you. Specific goals are precise and clear. And this, I'm taking this from my workbook. This is all the way back to 2013. And I got some great training back in 2012, 2013 from a guy named Jack Canfield. You might remember him as Chicken Soup for the Soul. But this book here that he wrote, that is I would say an old classic now. This book, The Success Principles, is a great resource, and I've had this for years. I've used the heck out of it. It's not only a good one read, but it's a great reference to go back and look at some of these mindsets that you'll use over your journey called life. And I would encourage you to go pick up this book. We can give them a link, right, on the site, so you can go find this book. You can pick it up used, I think, on Amazon for a few bucks, or you can buy. Still, it's in publish. It's being in print still. And so you can pick it up brand new, or you can get one that folks have put their own notes in, and maybe you learn something from them as well. So The Success Principles is a great book. I mentioned earlier Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. This is like the original self-help book. I'd tell you to pick up a copy of this and read it. There's nuggets of wisdom in here. And then there's an obvious book. If you're a believer and a follower of Jesus, I'd tell you the Bible is full of great stories, full of great wisdom. Go through the book of Proverbs and read Proverbs. It's kind of the book of wisdom. Song of Solomon was the original Song of Solomon. Solomon was the original writer of that, and David, King David. So I would share with you some thoughts from those scriptures, and we'll do that in a later podcast, that I think are very applicable to our business life and our personal life as it relates to mindset. So in order to help your mindset improve using this SMART goal and smarter goals, the S is that we have to have precise and clear vision for what it is we want. So it has to be specific. It can't be ambiguous. Your goals need to be very specific. Don't make them vague. Get really granular about what it is you want. Know who's involved. Know what you want to accomplish. And then we want to find a way to perform these in a very measurable way. So the M. It needs to be quantifiable. So if you can measure it, you can quantify it. Write that detail out. So one of the examples I give in the workbook is, as an example, is this person wants to have $50,000 in their savings. In order to get $50,000 in their savings by a specific date, they need to reverse engineer. So let's say if the date was 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, they need to be able to figure out in that specific time for them how much money they need to save in order to hit that goal of $50,000. And so just reverse engineer that. So if you're saying, well, maybe my goal is $12,000 and I want to save that in a year. Well, that would say, reverse engineering back to today, you would need $1,000 a month in your bank account. Now that's specific. You can measure it. Then is it attainable? Can you attain that goal in the specified period of time that you've set, which is the T in this whole acronym? And are these goals realistic? You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're setting unrealistic goals or goals that are not attainable. Make them where you know that you can achieve them and you can establish this discipline to getting there. Now, I'm not saying sandbag. I'm not saying set the goal so low that you're like, that'll be easy, I'll get it. Because if it's too low, it won't stretch you. It won't encourage you to step outside of comfort zones. So put yourself in a mindset and in an area where you're stretching yourself, and that's the only way you grow. If you think about it from like Michael with working out, he talked about being a 119-pound kid, and by the time he got on stage 10 years later, you talk about a goal and a commitment to that goal. 10 years later, he was over 150 pounds heavier. So when you chunk that down and you kind of break that out, he's adding on an extra 15 pounds a year. Now, in order to compete at the level he was competing at, it was going to take some time to get there. And so how committed are you to the goal that you've set? Are you committed to 10 years? Are you committed to a lifetime? And, I think the way to really get that clear in your mind is know, well, God's put me on this earth, and until he calls me home, I'm going to establish these goals, and I'm going to establish this mindset to achieve the things that I want to achieve in the time that I have here on this earth. And so by setting goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-sensitive, and then working through the process of executing and repeating, I promise you, if you do that and you act on that, you'll hit those goals. Now, that's a big statement, but I can tell you in my own personal life, when I've done this religiously, the goals that I've set for myself, I've attained. When I sandbag and when I don't take those goals seriously, I don't reach them. It's kind of weird how that works. And I'm going to read you, towards the end of today, I'm going to read you something out of Napoleon Hill's book that talks about goal setting and sometimes what some people have to do to themselves in order to hit those goals. But I give you some steps in the workbook that we'll go through, and you can see here. I just printed it out today so I'd have these to look at. But there's some processes to achieving goals. So I'll give you a 7-step process that I like to use. Many times when you're setting goals, you have to kind of chunk this down, as I said earlier, into smaller achievable goals. But some of the things that I've found successful for me is picking out some goals that I have for myself. So I start with, before I get into this kind of 6-step or 7-step process, I start with envisioning what it is I want. So I've got this little workbook here, and you'll see this in the workbook when we release it. So I'm giving you an inside look now, but it's really simple. We're going to do an envision exercise. Albert Einstein says, imagination is everything. It's the preview of life's coming attractions. So if you want to think about what life is going to look like for you in the future, imagine it today and act as if it's already there. And so applying some of these principles will help you move from where you are to where you want to be in your life. Now, there's an envisioning exercise that I've done over the years, and that it's helped me kind of establish these things in life that I want. And it's okay if your list changes, but I've got a list of 101 things that I want to do in life. And over time, I've put them in my own personal journal here. And so I have a moleskin that I carry around. And from time to time, I'll write down things that I want to have happen. And then I'll start setting goals towards them. The goals for my literacy course, those were set up over 8 years ago. It's not like last year I went, I want to have this course. This has been an 8-year journey for me. And it has had times where I've waned and where I've doubted myself. And when I come back to my journal, when I come back to my envisioning exercise, it keeps sticking with me going, this is something I want to accomplish. This is something that I really want to see fulfilled. And when I keep coming back to it, that fire's still lit. Sometimes it burns brighter than others. So anytime you're starting to feel a little down on the goals that you've set for yourself, go back to this envisioning exercise and give yourself a reminder of those things that you want. Now, I picked 101 things because I read this I read this article, and I can't remember who I can give credit to here, but someone had said to me that 101 in Chinese culture is the number of completion. So I thought about that, and I went, well, it sounds a little hokey, but let's run with that. 101 things in life that you would like to accomplish over your lifetime. Jot them down. And it can be as audacious as you want it to be. It's your list. Take this list, write down the things that you want to enjoy. And what you will find is that you will start with these big kind of superficial things. Maybe you want a Lamborghini, or you want to do a world trip, or there's this house that you want. And then what you'll find is that those things start honing in, because when you start writing 101 things, you start moving from superficial to the things that are really important to you. And it's interesting how that works, because it takes a little while to get your mind around these things. So, going back to this interview with Michael Walding, he gets up every morning. I think he said, Noah, 4 a.m. He gets up. So he gets up at 4 a.m., and it's before anybody else rises there in the town of Miami. And I can verify that. Most people aren't going to bed yet in Miami. But, Michael's going to bed around 11 p.m. at night. He says, hey, I try to get at least 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And, the guy's a machine. He operates like that. But what I found interesting was that Michael said, Kenny, I like to spend some time. We would call it, in my world, quiet time. I just like to spend some time meditating on the things that I want, and meditating on the things that I already have, and being thankful for the things that I already have, but having a wish list for the things that I want in the future, and meditating on those. And it just sometimes takes a moment to get quiet. No distractions, no noise, no coffee, nothing but just, and it doesn't, he does an hour, I think he said, right? And sometimes he said that hour turns into, he looks up and the sun's up, and he looks now at his watch and it's 8 a.m. So he says some days he's 4 hours into this process of just meditating, of having quiet time. And, for you, that can be a number of different ways that you do that. And some people get all hokey about, meditation, but it's a very, in my world, it's a very biblical principle to meditate on the things that you want for you, your family, your relationships. Again, that belief, behavior, relationships, results. If you want results, you have to put your mind to those results that you're looking for. And so for me, that came from writing things down, making a list, making a place to get goals from. So this envisioning exercise is not about the how, but really your whys. What are these things that you want? What do you want to have happen? It starts with an envisioning exercise. Once you get a list of these things that you want, I would say chunk it down to the things that you think are the easiest for you to achieve first. So, most people would say, well, let's get, this really big, hard goal to go after. No, we want some wins. We want to build on wins. And the easiest way to build on wins is to start with easy wins. Think of that in sports. When we have a normal NFL season, football season, there's usually, 4 preseason games? So you want to practice as if. You want to work on the easy wins. You want to work on things that are achievable. And when you can achieve the easy things, it builds confidence through the results, getting good results. It builds your confidence into taking steps towards things that are maybe a little harder. So, a guy that wants to run a marathon, and if you've never ran before, and if you've never been like a professional runner, you wouldn't start out day one going, well, I want to run a marathon, so here I go on my 26-mile track. It doesn't happen that way. You're probably going to hurt yourself, maybe even kill yourself. Don't try that. Chunk it down into smaller, achievable goals. And actually, anyone who's running a marathon, you'll find that their training regimen only has them maybe running an actual marathon one time during their training cycle to get ready for a marathon, if they even run that far. I know some training cycles only have maybe about a 14-mile run, and then their actual marathon is the first time they actually do the long run. So it's not about trying to come out of the gate and winning on the big goal that you have. Start with small, achievable steps that you can have a win column that you can celebrate. Celebration is important, by the way. When you achieve goals, it's important to go back and celebrate those achievements and share those achievements with those around you, with your trusted loved ones, with your family members. And I would be careful, and this is just my personal opinion, no science behind this, but I'd be careful, sharing this with your social media. I'm saying share it with people who have a intimate relationship with you and who can actually be a real accountability partner to you in helping you get from where you are to where you want to be. So that's just a little side note there. So in envisioning anything that you want, it's important, as we said earlier, to write it down. So we give you a way to just write down the goals that you want. And these will come back to what I'll call your top 6. You write down what it is, your ideal job, the ideal business that you would love to have, the relationship that you would love to have. Write down free time. It's important to understand that this free time, the reward time, is as important as the time that you spend on your goal. So give yourself an opportunity to relax and celebrate the things that you've done well. The next thing I would say is write down your ideal health. So if you're not healthy and if your mind's not ready and your mind's not right, and if you're not in the best personal performance that you can achieve for yourself, it's going to make it hard for those other things. Like if your health isn't good, it's hard to sleep, hard to follow a good diet plan. And so all of these things tie in together. And that was one of the convictions I got from, again, this interview from Michael, was all of these other things in his life. He's doing well, and it's helped him achieve the goals that he has financially, because all of these other things are in order with him. So it really brought that back to me. Family's important. So I would say write down some goals that you have for you and your family. Share those with your family members. Having personal areas in your life that you want to see improve, write those down. And then write down what you would like to see change in your community, in your church, in your business, your neighbors. And these things, you may feel like they're maybe a little hokey, but what's interesting about it is when you spend some time working not only on yourself, but working on improving the things around you, success is infectious. So when you start having success, other people start going, hey, Kenny, hey, Noah, what are you doing different? I've noticed this about you. And so that becomes something that when you can share that with your community and you can share that with the people around you, there's an award that you get internally by seeing others be successful. Celebrate other success. I think it'll help make you better. And so one of the other things I want to talk through today, and I just wanted to make some introductions into the mindset, and we're going to be spending a little more time on this. And I'm almost out of time today, and I don't want to try to get it all done today. I want to chunk it down in achievable goals. But in the 7-step process that I use, I start with the top 6, and I want to make these goals achievable. So whatever on my list of 101, let's work through 6 goals at a time. And then of those 6, pick the one that you want to accomplish first. And you got to write them down. And then you've got to create a calendar to help hold yourself accountable to these goals that you want to achieve. Like I've got a calendar right now for achieving getting our financial literacy course done by the end of February. And you know what? If we don't achieve that goal, I'm not giving us that option, guys, so don't take it for that. But if we don't, I can go back and look at the areas that kept me from meeting those goals. And those are the things that we can fix. Those are the things that we can work on. So again, this is to help you in your subconscious mind activate the things that you want to accomplish. Write them down. It's the most important thing to do. Have a goal book. A goal book can be a journal. It could be one that we supply to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could literally be a yellow pad. But make sure you get those goals written down. The next thing I would say is by achieving these goals, you need to map them out, and you need to create to-do list and detailed to-do lists to help you achieve these goals that you have for yourself. It's important that you keep these goals and these to-do lists close at hand. You need to have that document with you as a constant reminder of the things that you need to focus on each day to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. And then the obvious, number 7, is review, revisit, and renew those goals. It's okay to go back every once in a while and tweak those goals or renew them based on new information or new results that you're achieving. You may find that you've set the bar too low and you're going to crush through that goal. Well, it's okay to exceed. It's okay to go beyond. Set a new bar for yourself. Set a new measure. And when you do that, great things come from it. So as we go through these and we talk about this calendar, it's important to have these things where you can hold yourself accountable, where you can meditate on the things that you want to see accomplished, and that you can have a mindset, or what I call a positive money mindset. Because I'm in the money business, I call that the rational investigation of money truths and money principles. It's your set of money views and theories that you use to consider when you're setting any kind of money purpose goal. So you'll hear me speak a lot about that because, mine is a financial literacy course. I want to help people improve their finances. So we'll talk about executing your money philosophy and your money strategies to help you achieve financially those things that you want in your life. And that's where, we will specialize. I wanted to leave you with this thought today, though, and I'm going to come back to the rest of this on a later podcast since we're running short on time. But this is from Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's book, and I wanted to read a section to you about a story of a warrior who was trying to lead his men into battle. And by leading his men into battle, they were facing some pretty heavy odds. They were outnumbered. They were facing a battle that it wasn't likely that they were going to win, but the battle had to be waged. They had to protect their families. They had to protect their land. And let me share with you what Napoleon Hill said in this story. He said, a long while ago, a great warrior faced a situation which made it necessary for him to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe whose men outnumbered them and outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into boats. They sailed into the enemy's territory. They sailed into the enemy's country. He unloaded those soldiers and equipment on the beach and then gave the order to his generals to burn the ships that carried them. Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, "You see these boats going up in smoke? That means we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish." They won. And there's more to that story in Napoleon's book, but it's a great reminder that anything that's worth having, anything that's worth its weight in gold, so to speak, you got to work for it. You've got to put in the work. And, the thing that is a constant reminder to me, even with guys like Michael Walding that I just interviewed, some of the special warfare men that I've interviewed, there's a constant thread in these people and their mindset. It's a no defeat, no quit attitude. Failure happens to everyone, but failure is really measured by how quickly you get up and how quickly you start over again. So, these things that we're going to work through, these exercises that we're going to work through that I'm going to share with you over the coming weeks, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have all, a world of lilies and roses and this beautiful world of just continual success. But what it guarantees is that when you do face roadblocks, when you do face challenges, you'll have a mindset and you'll have a focus on, hey, I'm burning this boat at the beach. Victory's ahead. And in order for me to get from where I am to where I want to be, when I fell or when things don't go my way, I have to regroup. I have to get up and fight another day. And until the good Lord calls you home here on this earth, that's what's ahead of you. Set goals. It doesn't matter if you're 10 or 100. There's still opportunity ahead of you to accomplish those things that you want in life, from a material to a spiritual to a family point of view. My encouragement is to you that you can do it if you have the mindset. And if you don't mind, it won't matter. So let's go out today, make today the best day you can. Thanks for sharing this time with me, and I look forward to sharing some more nuggets of truth with you here in the coming weeks. Hey, have a great day. Thanks. See ya.